crypto week going down the drain. Mind you, XRP is holding up, so maybe not so bad. First of all, obviously, the bills have been struck down for now. I heard that it's due to unacceptable amendments, so they decided not to go ahead with that. But it's only a matter of time before it returns to the House and eventually gets passed. This is standard politics, and this is how, US politics is. Politicians always here to ruin our party, huh? Never mind. So that's, I think, the Clarity Act, the Genius Act, and the Anti-CBDC Act all sort of not going forward. But apparently, ironically, some people expressed a fear that even though the Anti-CBDC Act is there, the Genius Act, which was the one meant to regulate stablecoins, that may actually lead to the creation of a CBDC, which is kind of strange to me because I thought that was the whole point of the actual specifically Anti-CBDC Act. But who am I? I don't understand any of this politics stuff. I'm sure there's other reasons why, hiding behind these so-called fears. It is what it is. Further bad news, of course, is the fact that real life inflation has ticked up. And that means not encouraging for cuts. Even though we're still expecting cuts this month in July, it's not looking terribly likely because of the inflation issues. Of course, we have Trump putting pressure on Jerome to cut anyway, regardless of what the inflation figures are, accusing Jerome Powell of ruining the economy. It's like, you've got to love Trump, right? Sometimes he wants to bypass the status quo, the tried and tested means, or the traditional means that, the means has been used for decades, if not centuries, to control the economy. And he just be like, let's just cut it, man. So that's not good, is it? But we shall see what happens. I think there's a bit of pressure there. We may yet see, and it's not just Trump, right? There are other members of even the Federal Reserve that are in favor of cutting sooner rather than later. So the cuts are coming. It's just a matter of when. Another terrible piece of news is to do with macro events, right? Now, I think we're starting to see a little bit of calm in the Middle East concerning Iran and the Houthis and all these crazy things going on over there. But I think there's a forgotten conflict that's happening in Europe with Russia and Ukraine, and now Trump seems to be looking to get involved directly in that. He leaked, or the White House or whoever leaked a question that was asked by Trump to Zelensky or to Ukraine directly, if they could strike at the heart of Moscow and St. Petersburg. Now, talk like that can only go to exacerbate the situation and, aggravate Putin. And also this whole sort of sanctions on Russia and tariffs on countries that continue to trade with Russia. That's a big problem because, of course, China is a big partner of Russia's. I think there are other partners, but I think China is the big one, especially when you think about BRICS, which is gaining momentum. So China, man, they're the only one at the moment globally that can hold a candle to the United States in pretty much any department, whether it be the economy, the military, etc. And, forging tighter bonds between Russia and China and them viewing the United States as a common enemy is not a good thing, right? And it can only go to prolong existing conflicts and exacerbate the macro issues, man. The situation on the ground, could get even worse. XRP and Bitcoin looking good though. Having said that, price dipped a little bit. I think primarily due to exchanges in Wales that were taking advantage of the leverages, like I mentioned in my previous video, and not necessarily to do with disappointments related to the kneecapping of so-called crypto week. I think the whole crypto week thing was just hopium on the side of retail end of Bitcoin. Even though the term was coined by the press or the media, so to say, I think in real terms the industry or the establishment institutions weren't really that bothered. They've got their game plan already, and that's to accumulate as much as possible at low prices. Okay, so they don't really care for price hikes at the moment. In fact, they don't care about it so much that they might go ahead and add to the FUD to try and suppress the price. I know BlackRock does things like that for sure. I mean, the SEC just approved, I think it's ProShares futures ETFs for XRP and Solana. So there's going to be some inflows from that, even though the inflows are not directly seeded in XRP or Solana. They're cash settled, right? So the exposure is not directly to the token, it's just tied to the token. It's a derivative that is settled in cash. But what that does though is opens the minds of establishment traders, gets them used to the fluctuations and the possible gains that are hidden in these gems. Now, both XRP and Solana have yet to have a proper run this year. I know we've had the 5x, but that's just XRP playing catch up, because if you remember, they didn't have an all-time high in 2021 like most of the other tokens. So they're only just playing catch up. In fact, they're still yet to catch up. Even now at $3, we still haven't caught up to what the previous all-time high should be. So by the time we reach about $4 or so, that's when I think we've reached what we should have been in 2021. And then our all-time high for 2026 or 2025, depending on when we actually reach it, would be the parabolic one that we've been waiting for. So the price hasn't moved much. It hit $3, dipped to 2.8 something, and then it's back at 2.92 or so at the point of recording this anyway. So that has done very, very well actually during this flash liquidation dip compared to the likes of Ethereum and some of the other ones. So shout out to the army, their diamond hands. I, of course, am still incredibly optimistic. I think we'll still see some really, really good action this month. We're only just getting started. But as usual, of course, this isn't financial advice. Do your own research. I'll see you in the next one.